This perp back with another video, and I just got out of watching Stop Motion. This is a horror movie that happens to have stop motion in it. This movie reminded me a lot of that film that came out, what was it, 2022 with Mad God, where that was all stop motion within a horror setting. But this is different, where this is like a full-on real story but has a lot to do with stop motion. So this is directed by Robert Morgan, and he has done a lot of stop motion stuff, but I went into this movie pretty blind. So basically, without spoiling major plot points or just major things that happened in this movie, because I feel like this is definitely one of the most unique movies or just horror movies that I've seen this year so far. Is it going to be the best? No, there's so many other horror movies still to come this year, but this is definitely a unique approach to using stop motion animation with a horror story. So the story, we have our main character, Ella, and she's helping her mother that's not really well, or she's just pretty much on her deathbed, and her hands aren't really working, and she is always been into like this stop motion animation. She's working on this movie, and she's not only like kind of coaching her daughter, Ella, but also kind of very strict. And it's almost like a very strict mentorship that goes on, and she's always had the passion to do this, but feels envious, somewhat resentful of her mother. And you could definitely see there's just a long unhealthy history there between her mom, but she really wants to help her finish this film. And that's where things get really interesting, as there's this kind of weird thing that happens to her mom where she has to end up in the hospital, and she decides to kind of move into this apartment to kind of get away from her house, get away from that energy, so she can kind of think clearly, because right now she just has a lot of stress on her mind and a lot of pressure, and trying to just help finishing her mom's project is starting to really kind of bother her. And now this little girl that is this at this apartment starts to kind of come around. She's a little rude and obnoxious at times, but she is fascinated by what Ella is working on as far as her this film. And Ella asks her for some, like, what do you think about this movie, or just the premise? And she's like, no, it's boring. You should write your own story. Then this is where everything starts to kind of take a turn for Ella's character, as she starts to slowly change throughout the film. And what I like about this film is not only are you watching one film play out, you're watching a second movie kind of play out as she's, thinking of different ideas and being influenced by this mysterious little girl that's just coming up with all these different ideas. And the Ash Man, I'm not going to say too much more on that, but I really like how they just build throughout this whole entire movie, just the atmosphere. They don't try to get you with a bunch of cheap jump scares. There is a lot of like banging and a lot of different sounds throughout the movie, and I think the sound design in this movie is really clean, because you could tell it's a low budget film, but it doesn't feel like it at all. It feels very clean, also kind of grimy at times, just the setting of where her apartment is located at. But once this girl comes into her life, she starts to have an interesting influence on her. That's all I'll say. And where this goes, it's just so crazy, in my opinion. And it's very gross and gory, very unsettling at times, unnerving. There's a lot of different characteristics I could like describe this movie, and I feel like it works for me. Also, the main lead here that plays Ella, I think she did a phenomenal job, because just where she starts from the very beginning and to where she ends, it's just really dope acting. I really like it, and the psychological aspect to this as well. It's like a psychological horror movie on top of, you know, being stop motion. So it's very trippy. It's very unique in the way it tells its story and how things play out. Now, it's might not be for everybody. I don't think this is going to be a horror movie that you're going to walk away saying, damn, I was thoroughly pleased on how this story kind of played out, because the ending, I definitely think, will leave people to feel a bit mixed. But I understood what they were going for, and it's definitely worth the watch, because I know this is coming on Shudder, and shout outs to Shudder for releasing so many different movies in theaters. They're really doing their thing over there. But I don't know exactly when this is dropping on Shudder, but be on the lookout. If it drops like next month or April, I would definitely not skip out on this. Just see it for yourself, see how you feel about it. I definitely think it's one of the better horror movies I've seen this far. And yes, we're still in the beginning, but I want to see more of this stop motion / horror movies. Like, what else could people do creatively with something like this? But if you get around to checking this out, let me know your thoughts of it. This is just my quick thoughts on the movie. Till next time, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.